President Tinubu returns to Abuja following visit to St. Lucia, Brazil. VP Shettima warns detractors, stop fabricating conflict between me and Tinubu. ADC presidential ticket, Atiku, Obi, Amaechi, orders to sign agreement. How Tinubu's government is spending Nigeria's revenue, says presidency. FG spends 4.3 million naira daily to feed 3,823 inmates on death row. US President Trump announces 30% tariffs on European Union, Mexico. Summary of the news. President Tinubu returns to Abuja following visit to St. Lucia, Brazil. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has returned to Abuja after a diplomatic trip to St. Lucia and Brazil. His visit began on June 28, 2025 in St. Lucia, where he met with top officials and addressed Parliament. He also signed a technical manpower assistance agreement to deploy Nigerian professionals to St. Lucia and other OECS countries. Tinubu then traveled to Brazil to attend the 17th BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro from July 5th to 7th, representing Nigeria at the high-level international gathering. VP Shettima warns detractors, stop fabricating conflict between me and Tinubu. Vice President Kashim Shettima has denied any rift with President Bola Tinubu, accusing some media outlets of distorting his recent remarks to create false conflict. He clarified that his comments at a book launch referencing events during the Jonathan administration were historical and not directed at President Tinubu or the situation in Rivers State. According to his spokesman, Shettima supports Tinubu's constitutional handling of the Rivers crisis, including the suspension, not removal, of Governor Siminalayi Fubara to restore order amid political unrest. However, the African Democratic Congress (ADC) rejected this clarification, insisting Shettima's original comments rightly highlighted the limits of presidential power. The party accused Tinubu of executive overreach and demanded a return to democratic governance in Rivers State. ADC presidential ticket, Atiku, Obi, Amaechi orders to sign agreement. ADC presidential hopefuls, including Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, and Rotimi Amaechi, have agreed in principle to support whoever emerges from a transparent primary, though they must first agree on what transparent means. Amaechi emphasized the need to prevent manipulation of the process. Senator David Mark, the party's interim chairman, assured there is no preferred candidate, promising a fair and open contest. Allegations by former ADC candidate Dumebi Kachukwu suggest the ticket may be zoned to the north, stirring debate over power rotation. However, the party insists it remains committed to a level playing field for all aspirants. How Tinubu's government is spending Nigeria's revenue, says presidency. The presidency has outlined how President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration is using Nigeria's revenue under the Renewed Hope Strategic Spending Initiative. According to Presidential Advisor Sunday Dare, funds are being directed towards key sectors to improve livelihood and drive economic growth. A major focus is a loan and grant scheme for over 900,000 small-scale businesses to boost grassroots productivity and reduce unemployment. Infrastructure is also prioritized, with over 440 road projects underway, covering 2,700 kilometers of highways to enhance trade and connectivity. In education, around 500,000 tertiary students are benefiting from interest-free loans through the Nigerian Education Loan Fund (NEL Fund), aimed at removing financial barriers. The government is also rolling out a new national minimum wage of 70,000 naira to strengthen workers' purchasing power, working with all levels of government and encouraging private sector adoption for broader economic impact. FG spends 4.3 million naira daily to feed 3,823 inmates on death row. Nigeria's death row population has surged to 3,823, up from 3,688 just 3 months ago. Despite their constitutional power, many state governors refuse to sign executive orders, citing moral concerns, fear of wrongful convictions, and human rights pressure. As a result, most condemned inmates remain in prison indefinitely, some for decades. The delay is costly. The government now spends over 4.3 million naira daily feeding death row inmates, contributing to the 58.8 million naira needed each day for all 78,000 prisoners. Even with a recent increase in the feeding allowance, it's still not enough for adequate nutrition, fueling tension and insecurity in prisons. Some states are taking action, like Abia, which pardoned 3 inmates after 26 years on death row, but others stand firmly against executions. Experts warn that inaction is worsening overcrowding and wasting public funds. Many now call for automatic sentence commutation after a set period and investment in prison farms to ease the burden. US President Trump announces 30% tariffs on European Union, Mexico. On Saturday, President Trump announced new 30% tariffs via social media, citing national security and protection of American workers. In letters to world leaders, Trump said Mexico's efforts on border control and drug trafficking were insufficient and called North America a narco-trafficking playground. He also criticized the European Union for long-standing trade imbalances, calling the relation far from reciprocal. These tariffs are part of Trump's 2024 campaign strategy aimed at correcting what he views as unfair trade deals. While the EU's chief trade negotiator expressed hope for a deal to avoid the tariffs, trade experts remain skeptical. With this move, Trump has now placed tariff conditions on 24 countries and the entire EU, challenging the global trade system. Follow for more. July 13, 2025.